Preston, Stinson, and I have been friends for almost 30 years. We're similar in that we had both kind of lost interest in school at our other schools, and then went back to work for a while, and when we came back, UCO was a great option for us. He came back to study business. Our friendship was cemented during our years at Central Oklahoma. We spent time together on the campus. We lived together. We commuted to school together. We would go to class some days and learn something and then argue about it all the way home. Well, he was very conservative, or he was when we met. I was very liberal. And we have done nothing but argue for 30 years, and I think it's made us sharper, and he has sharpened, my logical abilities. Like half the things I know, I learned so that I could go back and argue with him. He has a very developed sense of ethics, and he's got a very strong character. He really thinks about what's the right thing for everybody involved. I think that's important, especially for someone who's in politics. Preston is a state rep, ran for it out of a sense of conviction that he thought he could help. He felt called to serve the public. I'm glad there are people like him in the State House. To me, a distinguished alumni at UCO looks a lot like Preston. Somebody who worked hard, has taken advantage of the opportunities he's gotten, has lived their life in an honorable and ethical way, and is trying to be responsible to the community. He's a great dad. He's a good husband. I'm really grateful to have been his friend all these years, because I really do think that he has made me a better person. Preston and his wife Sheila are both being honored. That doesn't surprise me at all. Both of them are amazing people, and Sheila's fantastic. I'm glad that Preston lucked out and found her.
So I met Sheila Stinson, then Sheila Barnes, when we came here as freshmen in 1995. We both came from very small communities. Sheila was from Boise City, way out in the Panhandle. And I remember how proud both of us were of where we were from, and especially our family's ties to those communities. So we had a lot in common when we first met. Soon we became friends in student government, in those days called SGA, and we just realized we were majoring in the same thing. We were both criminal justice majors. In 1998, the Student Government Association was given the authority to distribute the student activity fee. So Sheila and I then ran and were elected as the first president and vice president of the University of Central Oklahoma Student Association. We're the first to get to do that, and I still remember the day that we were sworn into office, and we had an office in the Nye Student Center, and we got faculty staff parking permits and all of these really exciting things that we were able to do, and to preside over the first time that students were going to be distributing the student activity fee money. The way in which it was forming us, as leaders, and the bad decisions that especially that I made. Sheila made only good decisions, but I would make these, wisecracks in the newspaper and get called to the president's office. And Sheila was always the one saying, maybe that's not the best thing to say. Maybe we should be a little more indirect at times. Sheila was and always has been, and I think it's interesting that today she's a judge because she has this kind of calming presence and her ability to lead. She was a leader. She is a leader. Like when you're around Sheila, you listen and you follow and you realize the depth, the wisdom that she has. And I think it comes from this deep well that she draws from her childhood and from her upbringing. Her dad owns a wrecker service in the Panhandle of Oklahoma, where people need help all the time in the worst conditions, right? They're in the middle of a snowstorm. And that's the way that Sheila was brought up, right? That you reach out to your neighbor, that you assist those who are in need. Her brother's a highway patrolman. Like they just come from this place of service to others. When I met Sheila, she was gonna be a lawyer. And she went straight from UCO to OU Law School, straight into the world of law. She was an intern for Senator Nichols. I remember I went and visited her in Washington, D.C. She, worked in law firms, and then a few years ago was appointed to be a special district judge in Oklahoma. So she continues to serve. Everything she does is about service. She exemplifies what I think the University of Central Oklahoma wants to see in its students, people who leave here, who follow their dreams, who live them out in the world, and who make a difference in the communities in which they end up living. I can't think of anybody who's more deserving of the honor to be named a distinguished former student or alumni. I think it's an outstanding honor to honor both Sheila and Preston. Certainly he's giving himself to our state as well and to the community. Neither of the jobs that they do are easy. They're both in the public spotlight, and they're both living out, right, the virtues of service, of compassion, of care in their work, things that I know that they received and saw modeled here in the years that we were students here at UCO.